This is episode number 42 of the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast with our special guest, the Healthy Primate, Kolby K. Welcome to the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast. My name is Jeff Thornton, alongside my co-host, Michael Anders. Each week, we bring you an inspiring person or message related to our three pillars of success: manifestation, business, fitness, and nutrition. Our intent is to enrich, educate, and empower our audience to take action, control, and accountability for their decisions. Thank you for allowing us to join you on your journey. Now let's get started. We would like to thank our sponsor, FitAid. If you're serious about your performance and recovery, go with FitAid. FitAid is the perfect pre- and post-workout supplement product. If you're dragging pre-workout, FitAid contains natural ingredients to give you that boost and pick-me-up you need without the jittery effect. And if you're looking for recovery after your workout, FitAid has branched-chain amino acids or BCAAs, L-glutamine, L-arginine, vitamin C and D3, glucosamine, turmeric, CoQ10, and raw organic agave to accommodate the glycogen window and provide your body with a complete and clean recovery. Be sure to give them a try at lifeaidbevco.com, your local gym, or a grocery store near you.
Hey, what's going on, fam? Welcome to episode 42 of the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast. Mike Anders here with my co-host Jeff Thornton, as usual.
Hey.
And today we've got the Healthy Primate in the house, Kolbys.
The man.
What is up, fellas?
How you doing?
I'm looking down at my ankles. I just came back from the gym and I got my Jordans on with my ankle socks. It looks like I don't have any socks on.
Sweet
I like the
J's.
J's. Those are fat.
Barefoot on the inside.
Black on black,
Okay.
man. I'm doing well, man. I appreciate the chance to be on the show, fellas.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. We
Oh,
know
of
you're
course.
busy.
Super pumped to super pumped to have you on the show, man.
Yeah, man.
Just to set the stage for everybody listening in today, you and I have a very special relationship. I met you through Rush Club,
Yep.
and we've even done Wim Hof together.
Yes, sir.
Which we're going to be hosting a seminar at the gym in a
Yes.
couple of weeks. Are you going to be there?
If I'm not in New York, I'll be there. You count on it.
Perfect.
I have an ice tub, too, for you. So if you want to do
Sweet.
the ice immersions,
Yeah,
I'll bring
we're
it.
going to do the whole deal,
Love
the
it.
whole shebang.
Love
it. Our relationship evolved from friendship into a little bit of business coaching,
Yes,
and
sir.
you're the one who got me off my ass to write the manifestation of affirmation,
Yes.
which I just re-released. I had it redone,
Good.
and now it's up on Amazon.
Love it.
Yeah, so that's moving, man.
You have to give me those links. I can put them out.
Yeah,
That's a
for
great,
sure.
great book.
Thank you, man.
Great book.
Thank you. And as a result of all that, kicking the ass, take action stuff, we're doing the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast.
Yes, sir.
So prior to
Not
all,
only have you done it, dude, you're like on episode 42, man. So you doing it means you did like a couple, and I'm a guest 3. Like you are doing it, right? You're doing it. You're in episode 42, man. I'm proud of you guys.
Hey,
That's
appreciate
awesome.
you,
man.
brother.
Thank you, dude. And one of the common themes of the people that we have on the show that make it so interesting from one guest to the next is the many lives that people have lived
Sure.
up to this point.
Yes.
And so can you tell our people, tell us just the cliff notes of the many lives that you've lived.
Yep. So I did a show with a mutual friend, Tommy Baker, and he labeled me the king of the pivot. And it's, when you look at life, I've been blessed to tell this story quite a few times. So I try to tell it a little bit different every time, so it's not the same. Every time people hear it, it's the same story. Because you hear a podcast of somebody you like, and you're like, "Is this guy? I gotta fast forward the first 30 minutes. And I've heard that story." So, for me, I grew up with a really good childhood. I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. My dad was a physical laborer, did lots of different stuff, and then my mom was an entrepreneur. She got into logistics and doing like freight forwarding when we were really young. It started with like wicker furniture back in the 80s, when that was a hot thing.
Yeah.
Selling and reselling like wholesale wicker furniture, and would load up these U-Hauls and drive them to ladies that would sell them in their areas, right?
Okay.
Like Tupperware parties for wicker furniture.
Right.
So I grew up with 2 really hardworking parents that had a lot of love. It's my brother and I. We got an 8-year difference. His name's Kimball, and growing up, we had a lot of love and a lot of work ethic around us, right? And then my parents separated, and I bounced around a lot. I went to Los Angeles, or something kind of like San Diego. Went to San Diego, came to Phoenix, went back to San Diego, got in a lot of trouble, came back, got in kind of adolescence. When your parents are just trying to work and there's only one of them, it's like left to your own. I was 13, 14 years old. I got into hip hop, into the music scene and skateboarding. I started skateboarding on the Pro-Am tour when I was 12, 13, 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
This was when skateboarding, guys, was not what it wasn't a multi-billion-dollar industry. You were an outcast. You were playing sports. Skateboarding was not considered a sport.
Yeah, this is Lords of Dogtown.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's back then.
This is. I mean, you got to think. I'm 40. I'm 41.
This is before
when I was
Tony
13.
Hawk.
This was during Tony Hawk.
Okay.
He's I think 8 years older than me.
Okay.
So this is that era, like the Pal Peralta days, like that's coming up. Building ramps in the backyard, and this is before everybody there was no shoe lines, right?
Right.
So I did that, and immediately that put me into a category of people that are not of the normal.
Sure.
And that was really kind of my first getting into independent thinking and being okay as an outcast. Started with my social behaviors and the things I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
So going through that, bounced around a bunch. Lived in New York City, lived in Hawaii, ended up back in Salt Lake City working for the Olympics. I worked really hard to get to university, went to NYU for like a semester, and had the opportunity to go back to Salt Lake City to do some work around the Olympics. And some buddies of mine, big up my man Mike Saltzman and my buddy Brian, we started this little firm doing graphic design and booking venues around the Olympics to do like music. That ended up being a kind of a full-time gig as the assistant director of entertainment for the Olympics in 2002 in Utah.
Nice.
So by default, through a story for a different time, right, is you had a bunch of young people because the adults weren't around booking these venues. And I remember one day it was Dave Matthews, The Roots, Norah Jones, Erykah Badu, that was like one day.
I've never heard of any of them.
They're all up and
Really?
coming. They're old bands. Old bands. So when you look at that, that was every day for 2 weeks,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
But the cool thing, what I learned about that was how do you manage contracts? How do you deal with talent? It's very rare in my life that I've been starstruck. I spent a month with Muhammad Ali.
Wow.
We can talk about that, but that was the only time where I really was like kind of taken back by the person.
Sure.
And it's like, we're just all humans, right? So I did that and built some really good relationships, got in the music business. Fast forward that story, I was DJing and producing full time. I was on the West Coast, thought that was my thing, and became a single dad young and had to make a decision. I was on the road, 200 days a year, and had to make a decision. You want to be a dad or do you want to be a rock star? And as fast as I said that is as fast as I made the decision. Like, you be a dad.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a rock star.
Good for you, man.
So I got circumstance had it. Mom was doing one thing, dad was doing another. I chose to be the parent, and my daughter moved with me when she was 1, and we moved here. So I kind of sold all my music gear. Still have a passion for music, just not paying the bills with it. Came here. And my dad lived here in Arizona, and I remember putting together 17 different kinds of resumes, doing all kinds of stuff. Bar backing, bartending, door guy, like anything I get my hands on, I need to work, right? And I got into technology. This is the time, this is 2003, 2004. This is the time where the days of Dell, build your own PCs, was kind of really kind of coming into its own from an advertising perspective. And I got a job building PCs, building computers in a warehouse for businesses. So learning the technical side as to how kind of technology works. That took me into another evolution where I got a job working for my number one customer. And that was a call center, and that was many people who followed along in my narrative have heard me give the story around the broiler room analogy. So I get the job, and I remember you trained off-site. You trained at a different building, and then they don't put you in the call center to where everybody is until you get done with training. And we pull up into the parking lot, and they were giving away a Harley Davidson, like my first day. And it was sports goes like new Beamer, new Mercedes, new Audi, and like I'm in this beat up Honda Jalopy that barely ran, right? And I'm like looking around, I'm like, where am I? Like, look at these like sports cars, these people, and they're giving away these cars. They gave away a motorcycle and a truck the first day I'm there. And I walk in the door, and it's a scene out of Broiler Room. It's like 2,000 people. If you can imagine 2,000 people in one area that you could see on the phones. Like, they're in suits and they're calling companies, banging on phones, selling computers to companies, right? It's not selling penny stocks. It's selling stuff people use. And the energy, I just remember, like, this is me. Like, I'm home. Like, because, keep in mind, I spent 10 years on the stage. Right? It's like when you're opening for Outkast and you're, like, doing stuff with the Roots, it's like it could be 1,000 people. It could be 20,000 people.
Sure.
So when you're in that, it's like the energy just got me. And then I saw, the middle-aged dude in the corner office driving the new Mercedes, and I thought, I could do that. I want to do that. Because, at 24, 25 years old, monetary success is how you get money. Money is always important, but gets how you gauge. There was a level of status and all that. And I attached myself to the top performers that I could get my hands on. What do you do? How do you do it? Why do you do it? How do you say what you do? And trying to learn my craft around how the top performers are doing it, with my goal of being an executive. Like, I didn't want to just be an individual contributor. I wanted to run, larger parts. And fast forward that story and that narrative 15 years, and I became an executive at 2 Fortune 500 companies here in town. Both headquartered here, both large, one's a Fortune 5, one's a Fortune 2.
Okay.
And, through that experience, I had a $500 million budget a year, spending $1 million on marketing. And that was everything from building a value proposition to identifying a place in a market, how to train and onboard salespeople, how to work with benefits, how to work with inventory management, how to do bonus, allocation, and then how to build a brand, all within this big machine that was running. And 4 years ago, I had this opportunity where this niche of customers and this group of people, I always ask people any of my customers that I'm doing work with, ask them, how could we do things better? What are the problems you're really having? And are we living up to the expectations? If you giving me money is the biggest honor anybody could do, is give you $1 for something, right?
Right.
So for me, I always go back and reciprocate that with respect, gratitude, and then try to give myself out there to earn more business, but to show them I really care about the investment. Mm-hmm. And I found this niche of people over a year that had this one specific need. I kept going back to the well saying, we need to go solve this and build this. And the company kept saying, no, we don't do that. I left the company because there were so many people saying, I have this problem. So let's talk about where life takes you. Mm-hmm. So we have skateboarding.
Yep.
We have music industry. We have corporate America. And it's like everything I'd engaged and put myself into, 6 figures comfortably, with an investment fund and college funds for the kids, and I'm driving the sports car. I got the 6-bedroom house, married a beautiful lady, have 4 other kids at this point. I have 4 kids total now. It's like the risk is, I'm not a young college kid with no risk. It's like the risk is bigger than it's ever been.
Yeah. Sure.
And I spent 6 months learning how to code, doing it at night, doing it off-site, doing it on the weekends on my own time. I figured out how to solve a problem. Hired people that were really developers, because I knew enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be considered a developer, right?
Right.
Bring in experts, built out a business, and then I took 6 months to transition out. I call it a calculated risk. I took a 6-month, everything was locked and loaded, so when I left, I could go do this without repercussions. Mm-hmm. And I leave. There are legal repercussions anyway. And then I go through this whole learning period of, there was no plan B. Right, I drained the wells, every savings account. Right. We raised $10 million in capital to go build this software company, and I got served with papers saying you can't stop what you're doing, cease and desist. And I remember going through the recorded deposition, and I said, "Are we live? Are we recording?" And they're like, "Yeah." And earmuffs for any of those that are sensitive listeners. I said, "Go fuck yourself." And they said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, go fuck yourself." And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, tell me what it is I'm doing and what it is you want me to stop." And they couldn't. So here I am thinking I got a 12-inch dick and you're not going to get me. I did everything the right way, and I've done nothing wrong.
Right.
And standing on my laurels and my values, I knew that I did everything the right way. Mm-hmm. I didn't lie, I didn't cheat, I didn't steal, I didn't hurt anybody. It's like I did everything the way I was supposed to do it. Right. So in my mind, it's like I'm going to win this battle.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, here's what I found out is if I've got more money than you and say I don't like gray sweatshirts or hoodies, right, and you don't have the money, I can run you through the legal system as to how America's set up today, and I'll drain you to where every time you see the color gray, you're like, oh, I'm going to get sick in my stomach. Right. And I just grind you out. Well, I got put through the grinder, and I got to the point where my wife was like, okay, we've maxed out every single credit card. We've drained all the kids' college funds, because you have to keep in mind, we'd raised the money. I was paying people. We had built this business and had a beta program. People were paying. I was using my savings I had at this point 6 full-time people working for me. I was paying them. And here we go to make this transition. The day that the money was coming in for the investment was the day I got sued and everything stopped. That day was the next payroll. Oh. Okay, so there was no money there's no money in the well. It's like, what do I do now? Yeah. Oh, by the way, I got a mortgage payment. I've got car payments. Like, how long can I be behind? I figure 3 months before they'll start to take my stuff. Right. So my wife doesn't think that way. So here I am trying to manage my relationship. She's seeing the account is negative, and then manage these people that I'm paying, and then myself, my own sanity. Like, what the hell do I do? Right. So as you look at these pivots and the adjacencies, and it was literally, I'm up against the wall. I could put my fist out saying, I'm going down with the ship. And then my wife's like, it's done. It's over. Right. Stop. We can't do this anymore. And I was like, I'm going to keep going. She's like, well, I'm going to leave you.
It's an issue of pride at this point.
It was pride. There was ego. Ego's the killer of everything,
Sure,
right? Like,
sure,
it's the ego.
yeah.
So the ego was in the way. Ego's the problem with everybody. Relationships, ourself, our own development and growth. And we get to this point. She's like, I'm going to leave. And I remember just like having this sullen moment thinking like, okay, I give up in this defeat. I'm like, all right, you win. So I called the guy and said, all right, I'll sign the documents. I said, but you can't prevent me from getting work. You'll never come after me again. Like, that's the only stipulations. They said, okay. I said, I'll hand over everything it is that you think I have. So I walked away from it. Well, the guy that I was working with at the time said, hey, I got this friend of mine. He speaks fluent Portuguese. And he goes, I got a friend of mine who's in the NBA. He plays for the Suns. He's Brazilian. I'll leave it at that. You can figure out who he is. He says he wants to make an investment into a sports agency. Would you sit down and talk to us about it? Because I know what just happened with the software thing. I said, yeah, I'd love to. Like, let's sit down. So this is as things are coming to a head financially and everything's kind of closing down, and I'll take this meeting. We go through things, and I said, okay, let's start a sports agency. Okay, great. The people that were at the meeting were well-known people that played for the Suns at the time. One of them will retire Hall of Famer. The other one won a ring at Golden State. So you do the Google, you'll find out who they are. So we're sitting at the table, and I said, okay, I got it. I said, let me go think about it. I don't want to be Jerry Maguire. Legally, I could be an agent because I've managed multi-million-dollar contracts for the last 20 years now. I know what it takes to manage contracts, draft them, write them, read them. It's all the rest of this stuff. Like, it could be a really seedy business.
Sure.
So it's like, how do you differentiate yourself in this business? So I said, okay, well, part of the software code we wrote was around tracking user behavior. Well, this is before Facebook algorithms and the tracking behavior in Facebook is nearly as good as it is now. This is like 4 years ago. So I said, what if we treat each athlete as its own brand, and we use these tracking mechanisms to track behavior, and I bring a brand in, and because of you as an athlete and your touch, they don't have that touch, we do a joint campaign together, and then I'll show you how many organic eyeballs that we generate together with a link back into your sales organization to tell you what the sales are based on this. And it was like, I could do that. So I said, okay, here's how much it's going to cost, 20 grand. That's how much I was in debt. This is going to cost $20,000, plus it gave me like a month leeway to like make it, to prove the concept.
Yeah.
Right.
Wrote a check like at the table. So good, like here, the accountant was there. So I met with him 2 days later. Said, let's do it. I wrote a business plan, wrote the model. Said, here's how I think we'll be different. What do you think? Tweaked it a little bit. We had a couple athletes that were there. One guy played for the NBA, one for the NFL, one for the UFC. And said, what do you guys think? As an athlete, would you find value? As an investor, do you find value? Yes. Okay, let's go. I put the number out there. They bid on the number. There was no rhyme or the rhyme or reason was like how much debt I was in and how much I needed to live for the next 30 days.
Right.
That was the number, right?
Right.
Because I'd already done the work on the actual software development. They write a check goes into bank, and then we're off and running to the next venture, right? So you hear music, technology. Now I'm in the sports business.
That's
so
crazy.
we do that for like 7, 8 months, 9 months. I go heavy with the UFC. At this point, we've got about 140 athletes that we represent from the NFL, the NBA, and the mixed martial arts. This is at the time, January of last year, when Reebok is coming in.
Right.
And I emotionally got ultra attached to mixed martial arts because I love it as a fan.
Yeah.
So those guys are the hardest working athletes on the planet. They'll train 3-4 times a day, 3 different disciplines just to get a shot. And they might fight 3 times a year. Each fight, they're making less than $6-7 grand a year. You do the math, it's like 30 grand without taxes and paying an agent and paying a manager. Like, these guys live well below the poverty line. So I had 100 of these guys, and a handful of them are household names. And we were making 30-40 grand a fight for some of these guys on sponsorships and endorsements. If you look at the old days of the UFC with the banners and the shorts and the shirts, and like, that's where we were making all of our money.
Yeah. Right.
We knew Reebok was coming. We didn't know what the impact Reebok was going to have. We knew that it was coming.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew it. And when Reebok came, like 2 months before Reebok came, every major sponsor I was working with pulled out of UFC.
Yeah.
All of them like to reinvest. So my fighters are in the UFC. Most of my fighters are either in the UFC or on their way to the UFC. And the money that's made on like these subpar, like even Bellator, like the eyeballs you're going to get don't justify the money they're paying for UFC primetime.
Right.
So this is one of those things where I said, okay, like, let's fish or cut bait. And this is one of those hard decisions where, you know, I'm a year in now, and the people I'm working with are friends, they're family. They're like, they're athletes, but they're people that they trust me.
Right.
Right. I'm helping them get money to put on the table. They're coming over and we're having lunch together 3 times a week. I know their kids. It's like, that's a hard decision where I got to come in and say, all right, dude, we're done. And it's like, I can't afford to. I'm making $1,000 off of you like a month if I'm lucky.
Right.
Like, we're not making any money. I'm doing it because I like you.
Yeah.
And now the money's changing. Like, I can't do it. Like we'll have to figure this out.
Right.
So shutting that down and walking away from some really good relationships that was probably the hardest thing.
Sure.
Sold part of the code, made a little bit of cash to keep going.
Yep.
So here comes the next pivot, right? Is I built this niche of when you run a $500 million business and you've got 2,000 employees over your career, and you kind of learn some things.
Sure.
Especially if you're moving through the ranks.
Yeah.
And I'm a student, man. I'm just a student of life. I'm a student of the game. Like I'm just continually trying to evolve. And what I found was people call me all the time and say, like, hey, man, I have this idea. What do I do with this idea? I would get 5-6 calls a week. And then social media hits. People are hitting me on social media emails like, hey, I see what you're doing. How do I do this for myself? How do I take this idea and make some extra income? And it's like, well, I just started helping people for free. Just like, hey, I think you were the first paying individual client, by the way, in this coaching capacity, right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing the sports agency. I'm doing some miscellaneous kind of things for cash. I buy into a technology company that ends up folding. I have a big falling out with the founder or the new CEO that they bring in. It's a hosting company in London. If you go to my LinkedIn, you can find kind of where I've been. If you put up my LinkedIn and saw my job, you'd see where each one of these kind of plays in the like you look at it like, oh, okay, here's the script. And I go back into technology after the sports thing because it's what I knew. And I go all in, and I'm traveling around. It's this company to help build this global sales team, very niche product, come in as a partner, come in as a running global sales, do that for a year. We get bought, part of it gets bought, part of it gets sold, and they bring in executives from large companies as a startup. I mean, it's a $50 million company, but it's a startup. They bring in some executives. We don't see eye to eye. In a startup, you do everything. You don't delegate. You do everything.
Right.
And they didn't know that. We had a big falling out. This is the day before the meltdown in the desert.
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple people knew come behind the scenes. Like I walked away from a high-paying 6-figure job. Here we go again. My wife's like, what are you doing? Like, finally we're back in, you're leaving again. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And it's like, money, happiness to me and being able to stand on my laurels, I think that to me is more important. So all these things are kind of happening. And I built, I'll let you ask more questions, but because I could just talk.
No, man.
It's one breath.
Carry it, brother.
One breath, dude. So there's a series of things that happen around a company I started called the Healthy Primate, and some things I've done around helping businesses. So, right now, if you fast forward like the next couple of years, I've helped, I think we're at right now 422 entrepreneurs that have done about $70 million in revenue.
Hell yeah.
Right? So what I do works. It's just a methodology of finding this is business as a whole. Is from Adam and Eve and the apple, from Eve soliciting Adam to eat this apple to Apple computers, right? It's the same thing. You find a group of people that have a problem.
That's the greatest analogy I've ever.
I love that.
I gotta stop you, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah, you like that? I said that this week in an interview, and I was like, I'm keeping that one.
I've never heard that in my life.
I'm keeping it.
That's outstanding.
I'm keeping it.
I've never heard that in my life. That's amazing.
It's a little nugget. So let's get into this. So that was my story, right?
My man took it from Genesis to Apple. That's outstanding.
I took it from the Old Testament to Apple 8, the new iPhone 8. Like,
that's why I love you, bro.
So one of the things I want to make sure we do is, like, that's my story and that's who I am. So if you were to kind of put it in a nutshell, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an author, I do some public speaking, I'm a lover, I'm a fighter, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I've got 4 awesome kids, awesome wife, and I am a fighter against everything average and against the norm. I think the system's rigged against us, and I try my hardest to show people how to have independence outside of that. Yeah. Health, wellness, financial, right? Yeah. And so that's who I am. One of the things I want to make sure we do is I want to give applicable actions and shit that people will take from this and be able to apply into their daily lives.
Sure.
Right? So not just about who I am. Who I am doesn't matter. What we do after this, I think this is where the meat of the podcast will.
Totally, man.
Well, I'd love to take it, right? So I want to make sure there's some oomph behind it. So if you take the Apple analogy, the things I've done around helping entrepreneurs and business owners is you find a group of people that have a problem or a need. You come up with a product or a solution to go address that need.
Right.
Third piece is you validate that what you've come up with is still valuable and that people will pay for it. That's the key. So you got to pay for it.
Proof of concept, yeah.
And then sell your face off is column 4. That's the sales and marketing. I follow those same 4 pillars for if you're Microsoft coming to hire me, you're doing a product launch, or it's Durs getting ready to launch his book and wants to diversify his coaching portfolio. It's the same steps behind the scenes. It's like that's just how it is. That's just the way that it works.
Right.
The big piece is the validation. It's going back into a marketplace saying, okay, everybody's got a great idea. The difference between having a good idea sitting on this couch is just getting off my ass and executing that idea. Most people don't know how to do that.
Right.
Right? I mean, how many people do you know, even yourself, you're like, I got the next whatever the great idea is. You're like, man, that would just change the world.
Let's do a podcast.
Let's do a podcast. Never been done. Never done a podcast. Right? So it's who's your core audience? What are they looking for?
Right.
How are you different? How do you deliver? And how consistent are you? Right? For me, the formula for all of this is 3 simple things: quality content plus consistency equals value. All day long in everything that you do. That's how you build relevancy. That's how you build tribes. That's how you build customers that will buy from you at any given point. That's how you build the 1,000 raving fans that Tim Ferriss references. Is like, that's how you do that. Like, that's the science behind it all. Right? So for the last year and a half or 2 years, I've spent just a ton of time around helping small businesses, medium businesses scale, and then entrepreneurs take ideas to revenue. Because, I had this, let's talk about the Healthy Primate kind of as its own section.
Sure.
But the piece for me, dude, is I always try to share something a little bit different for each show, like something I haven't talked about a lot. I have a story about my mom that I've only talked about on a couple shows, right? And same thing kind of happened with my dad, a little similar. They both passed, but kind of the circumstances were a little bit different. So here's my mom. Paid into the system. Both my parents were taxpayers, worked really hard. My dad got a pension, went through the system, does what you're supposed to do, what you're told to do, really. Right? And then my mom, the same thing, built the business, sold the business, got acquired, went into the company that bought her, got sick, found out she had a gallbladder issues, took her gallbladder out. They gave her Hep C during the blood transfusion. The Hep C shut her system down. She went into a coma. They found cancer when they were doing the follow-ups, and it just was one thing after another.
Right.
And my mom ended up passing because of all of these ailments. The new company that acquired her dropped her because she was missed work for a year. The insurance company said it was a pre-existing condition, so they didn't cover it. So she drained all the money she made and just broke. So died with nothing, right, in a home. And it's like, I looked at that and I had to go, I flew out to go, my mom was sick. I was on an airplane. She passed while I was in the air. And I go to the hospital and I had to identify my mother. Let me let that sit in. They said my mom was sick. I got on a plane. She died before I got there. I got on a red eye. She died at 4 in the morning. I landed in Philly. And I turned my phone on. There's 16 calls. And I'm like, I hit the first one. It's the doctor. And these are Haitian doctors. She's in Florida where English is their 4th language. Yeah. And then finally, it's different people. And each one of them is very emotional. Something's happening. You got to get here. They knew I was on a flight. I was like, your mom didn't make it. I remember sitting at the bar. The bar was closed from 4 to 5. And then my next flight was at 6:30. And I'm waiting. And I'm sitting looking out the window. I just start bawling. I lose it. Right. And bartender comes over, gives me a beer at 4 in the morning, right? Because I've been up all night, and it's drink a beer, and it's all right, let's just suck it up, and let's go to I don't know what's about to happen next. I haven't been through this before. Get to the hospital, or I get there, my grandmother picks me up, we go to the hospital, drive to the morgue, or drive to the hospital, and the morgue's underneath the hospital, and I have to identify my mom. And that was a moment, I'll never forget the feeling of it. It wasn't long. It felt like it was 40 minutes. It was literally they pull her out. I see her, and it was hard to look at her. I looked at her. I said a prayer, put my hand on her. They shut it. That was it. Right? Then I turned around, and it was that moment, something changed in my life forever. Something changed in my life forever. And the piece of that was, I don't ever want my kids to have to do that for me. My kids are going to have to bury me at some point. Right? I get that. Just not through that set of circumstances, man.
Sure.
And I know there's nothing that could be done around my mom's health. There's nothing I could have done different. There's nothing she could have done. That was her path. Right. But how everything was set up on the back end really bothered me. And seeing all that made me kind of reevaluate what I see around me. And it's I'm not a conspiracy theorist, dude. I'm just not. I'm not the sky is falling. Look at the last election. I don't care who you vote for. I don't. We've got more. You always have a feeling the media's got some dirt, and they're kind of driving the agenda. And then you see behind the covers, you're like, oh, okay, they're driving the whole narrative, and they're selling advertising space, and they've got alliance. And then you're like, okay, let me look at this holistically, and you see, well, from the moment where I have what I call the lifeline. From 0 to 18 years old, you're young, you're in your youth, you're an adolescent. You're told you can do anything, right? You're filled with ambition. You're creative. You see things different. You're like, I could be anything. I'm a doctor, a lawyer. I could be a superhero. Like the conversation we just had, Facebook Live, got it. We didn't get it on the podcast. My son is convinced I am a pirate. I'm tattooed from head to toe. I'm the only dad that looks like I do. And when we went to school the first time, at his new school, all the kids look at me different. All the dads look at me different. We're in a heavily affluent, religious community,
Right.
and I don't look like the rest of the dads, right? So when I show up, I stand out. My son was catching on to that at 5 years old. It made him. He didn't know how to take that because the other kids would say stuff about his dad. So I told him, "Listen, son, I'm a pirate. I've got a big clipper ship on my arm that has his name on it. It's not like this is your ship."
Right.
This is the SS Noah, and I go through this narrative with him, and he's sweet enough and pure enough as a soul, and I will keep all my kids this way till they're teenager. I have an older one, 17, and it's like till they get to the age where they don't care. And they get there, right? They get there. It's the I've got him convinced that his dad is a pirate, and I'm grooming him to be a pirate. So what did I say? Like, he had some surgery. I said, I'm on my way home. I'll pick you up something. You're now a pirate. You don't have to wait till you're 14. You're officially now a pirate. Like,
That's
his
awesome,
face,
yeah.
after being sedated, his face went like a stoic look of like, I'm proud to be a pirate.
That's
right.
awesome.
So my kids, like that age group, if you're like paying attention, they think they can do anything.
Right.
Then what happens at 18? You were a student from 18 to 24, right? You're a student. So you go into the college system. And you start to go through that kind of thing, and discovery and partying and sports and college. College is an amazing social experiment. And I think if you have a niche, like you're going to be a doctor and like you've got a specific, like you're going for this, you got to go do it. Like that's the way to go do it. The social circle, the influence, the people you're going to be plugged into that will affect you after college are unsurmountable. Like it's worth every single dollar you spend.
Sure.
If you're the guy who's, I'm a liberal science art. I'm an artist, and like you don't know, you've changed your major 75 times. It's like, like college is probably not for you, dude. So when you go, so we go in through that, and we get out of college at 24. Then we enter the full-time workforce at say 25. And okay, so if I were to draw this out for your listeners, like so from 0 to 25 is like there's from 0 to 18 is a line, 18 to 25 is a line, 25 to 74 is a line. That's a majority of where we live, okay? That's in the workforce, right? And what happens then is 74, 72, 74 is when we're supposed to retire, and then we have 74 until we die is the golden age, right? And if you look at that 25 to 72, 74, okay, what happens is at about 38, this happened to me. This is where the Healthy Primate comes in, is at 38 you wake up and you're like, I'm 40 pounds overweight, okay? I've got a house, a car, a wife, a few kids, debt. I'm working 50, 60 hours a week for somebody else. I probably hate my job. I'm not in great shape. My diet sucks. I'm sucking down Mountain Dews, and I'm drinking energy drinks just to keep moving. I'm eating pizza because that's what the company gives me at lunch. And like, I know I should be in better shape, but I'm also really busy and unhappy as a human. I don't know why, but I am. And I binge watch my favorite show late at night. Like I get up, I binge watch my favorite show at night. I barely have a relationship with my spouse. I'm living for those 2 weeks in San Diego. Rinse, wash, repeat, rinse, wash, repeat, stroke, heart attack. Oh my God, I'm gonna retire early. Maybe I have a midlife crisis and lose a bunch of weight and bang strippers. But like that's how that's what happens, right? Like you get through this thing of like what you're doing is you're not living. You're not proactively involved in your own life. You're reacting to shit around you. And then what happens is you think you're gonna make it to retirement, and then you don't. What happens is you end up like my mom. It's like you die before you have a chance to retire. So then what? So this chunk from 25 to 74 is like that's a majority of life that you're just reacting to.
Sure.
I am 100%. I know with every shadow, like I got chills thinking about it. Is I know that every single one of us is here for a bigger purpose, and that's not it.
Right.
Working for somebody else behind a desk every single day, doing that lifestyle that we're conditioned to, is not why we are here.
Sure.
So like I'll give you this exercise. Like when you get up in the morning, it's Monday. How many times do you hit snooze? Right? You hit once, you hit it twice, you're becoming an expert at like hitting that snooze button. You get up, jump up, catch a shower, put my clothes on. I say goodbye to my family if they're still there. Do I have time to eat? Probably not. I might get a Starbucks, maybe I hit the drive-through. There's a line of cars because everybody's doing the same thing as I am. I'm not the only one that's late. Hit there, I'm on a freeway. Look around the freeway on your way to work. I want you to look at the faces of the people on your commute, whether you're in a car or in a train or in a bus, however you get to work. Look at the faces on your way in. Everybody's glued to their smartphone, or they look super miserable. You'll find the one or two people who are kind of happy. You get to work, you're 15 minutes late. You run in, you try to duck in so people don't know that you're late. You get to your desk, the morning talk of like your peers of what happened over the weekend, the sports and what you did with your kids, the bullshit talk before you get into work. That's an hour and a half of just nothing. Then you work, catch a couple of emails, look at my Facebook feed. I'm looking at YouTube videos, whatever. Lunch comes. Oh, I didn't grab my lunch. I can leave. Oh, well, guess what? The company's bringing pizza in again or sandwich, Jimmy John's. Okay, cool. So I'm going to suck back my Mountain Dew, get my couple slices of pizza, go back to my desk. I'm going to fraternize with my friends again a little bit, do a little bit of work. Then what? It's 5:30, back in the car, commute home, same way as I came in, bumper to bumper. Everybody's like looking at their phone, down faces, walk in the door, wife hands you the kids. It's your turn. Because being a mom at home is the hardest job on the planet.
Hands down.
That nobody talks about.
Right.
Like that in itself, dude. I have so much respect for my wife. Like raising 3 little kids and a teenager. Like it's not easy. So you get home and she's waiting. Countdown starts. You say I'm on my way. Like she feels the relief coming. The door opens up. You don't decompress because you've been sitting in traffic. Boom, here are the kids. Oh my God, dishes and dinner. And if I'm even involved in your life, what happens? And then it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to shower and then what? I'm going to get a beer and sit down and watch. Play my video, whatever you do, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, and then you do it again. And if that sounds like you have to stop. Like if you related to anything I just said, like please use that as a wake up sign because I was you. That was me. Like I was that guy.
Yeah.
The difference is I wasn't like I've always loved what I've done, and I was probably one of the 2%ers. When you saw me in the office, I was always like I'm just naturally. I'm energy, dude. I'm pumped. I'm excited. I love life, right?
Right.
But I wasn't living. I was reacting.
Sure.
And I woke up one day, dude, and I was walking around at about 265, 270.
Get the fuck out of here.
No
Yeah.
way.
You say like I'm not a big dude now. I'm like 5'10", 5'11". So I was walking around at like 270, and I remember I was like, dude. I do this race every year with my father-in-law. It's at Camp Pendleton. It's a Marine base.
Yeah.
We talked about this, right? It's the race that the Marines train. They do it every day. It's a 10K, but it's like 35 obstacles, and they bring out the hoses, and it's the original mud run for all these people like the Spartans and all. This is it started with the Marines. Like, let's be honest, right? So my father-in-law signed us up for this race, and this was year 7.
I remember this.
And I do this race at like almost 300 pounds, and it's like I didn't do any training, and it's like mentally I'd done it. I knew what I was in for. I did it in 2.5 hours. My best time is 1 hour and 14 minutes. That's with 35 obstacles. I mean, that's cruising. So I knew what I was up against. And I was like, I knew I wasn't setting any lane. I thought I was in okay shape. I thought I was okay. I looked in the mirror, and I'm like, I'm all right. I did a little bit of training. Went to the gym a couple times, the treadmill, whatever. And I get to the race. I do the race. I finish the race. And I was glad that I had the accomplishment of finishing what I had started, but I was so embarrassed with what I'd become. Right? I was like, you know what? Maybe I want to get up and down the stairs without like having a heart attack. Maybe I want to see my dick once in a while when I pee. Maybe I want to be friends. Maybe I want to hang around with my kids. Maybe I want to be present.
Right.
And I started losing weight. So I go through this terror, dude, and I get turned on to Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Body and the slow carb diet.
Yep.
Changed my life forever.
Sure.
My buddy Howard Shaw introduced me to it.
Okay.
And it changed my life. So I go through the slow carb diet, which is literally just cut out your whites. It's beans, greens, proteins, every single meal. One day, eat whatever you want. I do that. I drop 75 pounds. I gained 14 pounds of muscle. And I've seen those pictures. I'm shredded. Like, I am shredded at, like, coming into 40, 39, dude, I'm in the best shape of my life. Like, I am ripped. But I was really just anxious and really tied up tight still. And I'm still doing what I'm doing. I'm leaving corporate America. I'm getting into the entrepreneur stuff. Like, but I'm physically, mentally, spiritually, like, I'm feeling really, really good. Outside of this little bit of anxiety that I'm feeling. Like, if the kids would come in the office the home office when I was on a call, my first reaction was like, God damn it, get out, I'm on the phone. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's just a snap.
Right.
And I'm not Mr. Perfect, dude. I still snap that's not my first reaction.
Right.
So I'm having coffee with a buddy of mine. He wrote training curriculum for a big box gym here for the trainers.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, your cortisol's all out of whack. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, your cortisol, your stress hormones, your panic hormones are upside down. I'm like, go figure that out, dude. You'll feel way better. And I'm like, all right. So here comes the ADD, OCD kind of combination, which is really not the best thing to put together. I spent 3 months, man. I meet with 15 doctors, holistic and my general practitioner, and I read everything I possibly can around cortisol and pregnenolone and like how those chemicals and hormones work. Yeah. So I become a scientist, dude. It's like literally I'm spending 20 hours a week watching every video, reading. If you go to my home library, I got about 2,000 books at home, and if you go to my home library, I have a whole section that's nothing but medical journals. Wow. So you think I was a doctor. Like, what are you doing with all this stuff? It's all specifically around the hormones, around what our body produces.
Yeah.
So what I found was there's a couple things. So here I am going through this transformation around like trying to live proactively, and I see, okay, how can I deal with stress and anxiety? Because if that's the core of it, how do I deal with it? There's two ways, really. I go to my doctor and get what?
Pills.
Xanax, Zoloft, Afrin. Or I can do some yoga. I can meditate. I can take a warm bath. I can listen to some Skinny G. It's like, that sounds awesome. I'm running 100 miles an hour. I'd have to be in the bath all day to recognize the benefits of that for my cortisol levels to change. Like, so that's not going to work. So I thought, I'm going to go to the doctor, man. Like, I'll just go get a pill. Like, let's just get it done and just keep moving.
Put some Wim Hof in your life, brother.
Well, this is before Wim Hof. Right? Wim Hof comes after. Wim Hof comes from the Healthy Primate.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, so I'll just do that. And then I saw independent studies from Duke, Harvard, and Yale all came out and said, well, 65% of those drugs don't work because everybody's compounds are a little bit different. Here's the kicker. You're guaranteed 100% of the side effects.
Wow.
And side effects might include, like,
shit in your pants,
leaky ass, might lose vision out of your left eye, might have a boner lasting 14 months. Like, you've seen the 30-second commercial where 19 seconds is the disclaimer of what can happen to you. Like, you need a pill to offset the things that the pill gets you, and then you need another pill to offset the pill. Like, it's just a cycle, dude. And I thought, okay, there's got to be something else. And I found adaptogens. And nuts, you know what adaptogens are. They're essentially natural herbs and elixirs that you can take. Chinese medicine. I'm not talking about a mushroom that grew under horse dung in the Himalayas. I'm talking about ginseng and garlic and things you can buy at Whole Foods, right?
Yeah.
Right.
There are 122. 23 of them are focused on stress, anxiety, and then also testosterone increase. So I took all 23 of those over 18 months. There's 100 different combinations. I filmed the whole thing and got blood every 30 days and then journaled it.
Yep.
And came up with a compound that worked for me. And I thought in the middle of this, I'm like, I guarantee that I'm not the only one that is going through this. So I started, it was a blog called The Healthy Primate. And I was writing 3 pieces of content a day, just sharing my journey.
Yeah.
I had a podcast, started a podcast. And for me, it was like, I want to be kind of like Tim Ferriss when I grow up. It's like one of those like, I want to be more relatable.
Yeah.
I'm more funny. I'm better looking, but he's way smarter. So it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to do I want to interview top performers on how they do what they do, but I don't want to be like, I love him, and it's either you like him or you don't, and he comes off, he rubs you one way or the other way.
Right.
And I'm more relatable to the average everyday dude. Like, I didn't go to Harvard and Yale, and I'm not that dude. So I started a podcast, and through the podcast, I'm interviewing top performers of their game. I've got Jimmy Pedro, who was the Olympic coach for the U.S. judo team, Ronda Rousey's coach, my buddy Brian McKenzie, New York Times bestselling author, one of the co-founding building blocks of CrossFit around endurance. I have all these cool people on. And as I'm building this community, I'm looking at I'm a numbers guy. So I'm looking at the numbers like 20,000 hits a month. Maybe we're on something. Podcast is getting 10,000 hits every time I put one out. Yeah. I'm like, all right. Didn't monetize it. I'm like, I'm spending 30 hours a week now on a hobby.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know how much time you guys spend on the podcast? Like editing and recording, and you know behind the scenes, JT. Like, there's a ton of stuff, right? Like a lot that goes into this, and people have no idea how much work goes into like doing this without a production team until you get to the production. So I'm doing all this. I'm like, all right, I'm done. Like, I got to spend some time kind of doing work, right? I feel good.
I can't play
I've helped a
anymore.
bunch of people. Like, let me kind of get back into it. So I slow everything down. The URL expires. I let it go. I'm doing my thing. I'm working. I'm doing the entrepreneur thing. I'm doing the hosting company thing. I get a call. I had 40 people in this test group because I wanted to see if what I was doing around supplementation could do something for other people. So I brought in 40 different people that were followers of the show. I wrote up a 2-page document saying, here's what I took. Here's where to buy it. Here's how often to take it. Here's your diet. Like, go do these things. This is what I did. Go do this.
Right.
Everybody found results that did it. So the 35 people did 30 days, and all of them had the same result. And the result is this. It's not a stimulant. It's not a depressant. It's the first reaction to SNAP is not there. It's what you don't feel.
Right.
That's it. That's the nutshell of what we built. And this dude calls me out of the blue, and he goes, hey, man, what'd you do with the supplement stuff? Because I was going to go build a supplement. And by the time I could go through all the due diligence of a custom blend, it was like $35,000 to start this.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money without having. I found a group of people. I built a newsletter. I built Healthy Primate around it. They said they had a problem, but I had no proof of concept if they'd buy my shit.
Right.
They all said they would, but $35,000 to see if they're going to buy my stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an expensive. Like, will put you out of business. 35 grand. If I buy $35,000 worth of anything and it doesn't go well, I'm sitting on it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it. Long and short. So I just that was kind of the kicker for Healthy Primate to stop. And I get a call from one of the dudes. He's like, hey, I just want to let you know that, like, because of you, like, you know, where I was before. It's like I was going to jump off this bridge. And he was a coordinator for a large sporting team. And he goes, there's a bridge that overlooks the stadium. He goes, like, probably 2 weeks before I had my first my talk with you, my conversation about what you were doing, like, I was going to jump off this bridge and end it all. Like, he goes, I want to let you know, like, how much it changed my life. Oh, by the way, what did you ever do with the supplement line? I'm like, yeah, dude, I just couldn't afford it. It was just too much money. And then I had another person call, a lady. She said, you know, like, my marriage now, like, I just want to thank, just a courtesy call, like, hey, I want to thank you for what you did.
Right.
What'd you ever do with the supplement line? All right, and then I had one more call, and the guy was like, listen, if you don't do this, like, how selfish of you, like, how many people you could help. And that's my whole mission's always been to help people.
Sure. Yeah.
If you don't do this, like, you're a dick. Like, you've done all the work.
Yep.
Like, it's money, I'll bankroll it. So I don't want you to bankroll it. Long and short of it is he introduced me to some supplement companies to do manufacturing. I negotiated leverage based on my knowledge to help them come up with some custom formulas. Knocked my cost down to like a quarter. I can do a $10,000, $8,000 proof of concept. Did a beta program, sold out. Right. That allowed me to like go full time with the supplement line. Then we did month 2, that doubled. Month 3, that doubled. And like the Healthy Primate now is, you know, for me it's a lifestyle business of helping achieve. Once you understand your hormones. Yep. Here's what happens with every we've got thousands of people now that are using our product line. Like, this is what they tell me. This isn't a pitch, by the way. It's just to kind of, I want to frame like my theory about life, right? Yeah. Is I had this awakening. Like, I had this awakening, or like that's the adjective, like this awakening, or this sense of awareness, like the self-awareness. Because once I understood my hormones, I got my hormones in check, I fixed my diet, and I started working out. This scenario that I'm in right now doesn't feel right anymore. This horrible relationship I'm in, this abusive relationship I'm in, this job with this dickhead boss, this relationship with these people, like, this is not right. My relationship with myself is different. Like, I don't feel like that's right, and I feel like what I'm doing now is better. You know this by training people. Like, when does it happen, like midway through, where people are like, two things. I'll use Tommy Baker's analogy again. We were talking about, I'm doing all this in supplementation, and he goes, dude, let me tell you a story about the gym. When I train people, if a man or a woman comes in by themselves and they start going through it and they follow the programs, what happens is about 30, 45, 55, 65 days in, they start to change. Yep. Physically, mentally, spiritually, you're going through, I'm stronger, I've got more self-confidence, I physically feel better. Yep. And what happens is the people that are around them don't change, and they change, and the people around them try to sabotage them. 100%. And I don't know why that is. The people closest to us don't want us to succeed because they see us getting ahead. To where if you don't bring that significant other in at the beginning on the onboarding stage of saying, this is what's going to happen. You don't have to participate. Yes. But it would be cool if you could support this.
I want you to see the way ahead.
I want you to see how this goes. Oh, by the way, like, we'll figure out how to get you in eventually because you're going to see how great this is. And it's not a sales pitch. It's literally, he's going to change and you're either going to be there or not. Right. And it'll cause divorces, right? Like, we want to be together through this whole thing. So these people have these awakenings. And this is where the entrepreneur thing really hit to me, as all these things kind of all in the last 2 years, the last year heavy, is this light bulb went on for like what my purpose is. My purpose has always been to help people. Yeah. Like, whatever I can do to, like, I sincerely, authentically give a shit. You've known me long enough, and I do hundreds of videos online that get viewed, and it's like the one thing people get is they're like, oh, you're relatable. And like, I really believe you. Like, I'm not telling a story. This is who I am. If you see me now and you see me online, like, I'm the same dude. Like, I really legitimately care. And I don't know why, I just do. Like, I'm just wired that way. I do care about people. And I saw what was happening. I see all these things, and it's like, if I look at the lifeline and I look at how we're put into the workforce, well, you know what happened from year 24 to 25 to circle this whole thing back? Debt. We're introduced to the debt system at 25 years old through college debt. Average student gets $37,000 of debt. Okay, great. So what happens at 25 when I graduate and I have $37,000 of debt? I go get a job that I can, quote unquote, justify liking to pay my debt down as fast as I can. And then what happens is I wake up at 38 and I've got more debt because now I've got a house and a car and my cost of living, and I got to keep up with the Joneses, and it's an Instagram lifestyle, and all the moms are on Pinterest, and I got to make sure my kid's birthday, my 1-year-old's birthday's got, handmade muffins, and everything is this ornate thing, and carpets, and everybody gets a gift bag, and it's like, fuck me. Like, seriously. Yeah. But what happens is that at 25, we're introduced to the debt system, and we don't get relieved of that, and then what happens is you're not taught how to financially make money for yourself. You're taught you have to work for other people, which there's a huge place for that. I'm a huge proponent of having insurance and steady income. Like, I believe it. But What you don't get taught is money management, how to invest, how to pay down debt. I'm a huge Dave Ramsey guy. Like, if any of your listeners, go listen to Dave Ramsey, learn how to be debt free. Like, I'm not debt free today. We sold our house and became debt free. Like, this is the last side of like my pivots to tie my whole story together. Excuse me. But when you look at all of these are all happening kind of at the same time, these self-awareness is happening around me. And it's like, okay, I want to help as many people as I can now through get your mind right, get your body right. And then once you hit that, like, oh my gosh, I'm having an aha moment. That's where you come in with the fitness. Like, come on. Instead of flipping on the fitness, what am I good at? What do I know? It's business.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you build something to financially build some sustainability for yourself? You don't have to do it full time, but how do you build some part-time income to pay down more debt, to take a better vacation, to help with your kids' college funds, whatever, take a vacation, whatever that shit is that you want to do, doing it yourself. So I spent all my time there. Like, that's kind of this world that I'm kind of existing in.
Yeah.
Right. So as you go through that, I was going to go somewhere with the pivot, the last pivot. Oh, so raise a bunch of money. This thing closes down. I go live with the Healthy Primate, and I had like 2 months to make it or break it.
Yeah.
And we ended up selling our house, which we had a ton of equity in, to reinvest in the business and then like start over.
Sure.
But we used all that money to pay off all the debt that I had incurred in all these like business ventures over a year and a half.
Right.
To pay off all the debt, except for the cars. The cars are still debt, but everything else.
Yeah.
All credit cards are done. All debt's been outstanding. All medical debt. All the things we racked up building these businesses. Sold the house, paid all that debt off, and now we're kind of going in this route here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good
That's
for
it.
you, man.
That's freaking awesome.
That was a lot, dude. I know. It's kind of...
Dude, I love it,
Oh,
man.
dude, I love it. That's a hell of a story, bro.
And we're still going. Hey, man, I got a whole lot of pages left.
That's beautiful, dude.
Dude, here's an exercise I'd love your listeners to go through.
Yeah, go for it.
I got turned on to this the other day. I'm a student, right? So Lewis, do you follow Lewis House stuff?
Oh, yeah.
No, I have no idea who that is.
I met him this
Just
past
kidding.
weekend,
Just
too.
kidding. I love
Did you go to his event?
No, I was at the LA Fit Expo and ran across him. Actually, we walked shoulder to shoulder. And I just
Do you have a
stopped
line
and
of
looked.
girls behind him?
No, but nothing, dude. Nothing at all.
He does. Like, usually, I'm sure there's like, you go to his events, it's all women.
He's what? I
I don't want to butcher this other guy's name, so keep going.
Yeah. So with regards to podcasts, he's definitely up there in his ability to interview his guests well, so that every guest gives you their message in an individualized way. Like, I just listened to the one he did with Ray Lewis, and it's fucking amazing.
I haven't listened to that one yet.
Yeah, it's good.
Two Below Ray is Dean Grasasi.
Okay.
Yeah, the real estate.
Real estate. Did you listen to that?
Yeah, it's very good.
So I'll tell you, the exercise there that I just started doing was, if you really want to understand like your purpose in life, let's talk about like what my purpose is.
Yeah.
Is this the 7 layers, and it goes something like this. Have you guys talked about it on the show yet?
No,
We haven't.
no.
Dive into it, brother.
Well, I'm going to give you my
that's why you're here, man.
Dude, like, I'm not an expert. Literally, I listened to it like 6 times, and I like wrote it down, and I'm digesting it myself. But the exercise goes something like this: is why is it that you do what you do? They kind of like, tell me your why. Like that whole mysticism around self-development. It's kind of played out, right? It's like, tell me your why. Like, okay, I want a better life. I want to be fine. I want to be debt-free. Okay, why is it that you want to be debt-free? Because I don't want to feel like I live under this pressure of having all this debt. I want to have more freedom, right? Because money doesn't equal freedom. Money equals happiness. Happiness equals freedom. Right. Right. Or freedom equals happiness. That's what it is. Money doesn't equal happiness. Happiness equals freedom.
It's funny that you say that, because
that circle.
Because we just had Jessica Nurek. She's a PhD at UNLV on the last show. And with regards to studies, she talks about how there's this misnomer out there where people associate or create this relationship between association and causation.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you're talking about, where they skip everything in the middle, and all of a sudden money equals happiness, not everything in the middle.
Well, do this exercise when somebody's like, I want to be a millionaire. No, you don't. What you want is what you think $1 million represents. $1 million is not that much money when you look at like all that means is you're up here doing these more things. It's like, what does $1 million really represent?
The perfect day exercise.
Right. So this is the 7 layers each. So I want to be debt free. Okay. Why do you want to be debt free? And I won't bore you with my own kind of version of this, but you go down level to level to level to where you're past the fluffy shit. And it's like, when you get down to like 2 or 3, it's like, I want to have a better relationship with myself. Yeah. Because the relationship that I had with my parents, and I was always searching for self-love, and maybe I didn't get that.
Yeah.
So I want a way to feel like I love myself more, and by doing that means I make more money, meaning I'm debt free, meaning I make more. Like it spirals up, and then then you go 2 levels deep, you'll be in tears. Like you go there, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like we as humans. I just went through this really big spiritual kind of reset at the end of 2016, dude. I went and did an ayahuasca trip with some friends up in the Utah mountains. And
that's what we're talking about right there.
As we went through this journey, we had 8 of us, and we're going through a prep experiment. It's not appropriate to talk about kind of the details of that on this show, but or maybe another show.
Yeah.
But we went through. Everybody was going through why they were there and what they were hoping to achieve and what they were hoping to get. And this goes to the 7th layer, right?
Yeah.
Is as everybody was talking and it got really heavy. There was one thing that was really apparent on everybody's need. Everybody has a need to be loved. Everybody has a need to be accepted. Everybody has a need for approval, whether that's from my parents. It started then. Like I want my parents to love and accept me and honor me and acknowledge me.
Right.
To my spouse, to my friendships, to my whatever the relationships are.
Sure.
It stems there at the very core as to when we were born, is how we come into this. We're always craving those 3 things. Those 3 things cause faulty relationships, they cause infidelity, they cause overweight, they cause suicide, they cause all the problems that we have can all go stem back to self-worth and self-love. That's all predicated on our thought process, on somebody else giving us acceptance, love, and like acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there's, I don't know. That's my
incredible.
view on life, right?
That's NLP,
so,
man.
Yeah. When I get down to the bottom layer of like, why am I my 7 layers deep as to why is it that I do what I do? It ties into that.
Yeah.
It's
incredible.
It's a deep thing around being loved, accepted, and acknowledged from my parents. Right. Like, and then you fast forward that in. So when you look at like why it is you do what you do, ask why you do that, why you do that, why you do that, why you do that, and then be honest with yourself.
Sure.
When you go through those exercises and you look at the stuff we just talked about, like your day is going to be different. How you show up is going to be different. You have to take action, because if you just listen to this and don't do shit, it's like, I know your listeners are smart. They're out there. You know, you're living in that 3rd circle. You know, I love that book. It's one of those things where it's one thing to be aware. It's another thing to take action on awareness. It's one thing to live, and it's another thing to proactively be engaged in your own life. Right.
It's incredible, dude.
That's it. That's all I got. This is the mic.
I mean, good Lord. My headphones are on fire right now. Like my mic just blew off. Like I gotta
That's it.
That's incredible.
They said we had an hour, 55 minutes.
There
Boom.
you go, dude. You got to come to the summit, man.
I'd love to.
You have to be present. You have to be present.
I'll be here. I'll show up.
It's
support.
It's that.
Cool.
But imagine a room full of that.
Love it.
You know what I'm saying?
I'll come to your friend, dude. You know that? You just tell me when or where. I'll be there.
Man. Oh, yeah. Because that's why we started the show.
Yeah.
Is we talk about it, as coaches and trainers on the fitness side, where we have these conversations all the time, just amongst ourselves, right? And it's very easy in having these discussions for that train of thought to become normal, and all of a sudden it kind of just fades into the back as white noise, and you think that everybody has this information and is walking around with this mindset, and that is so far from the truth, it's ridiculous. So, we felt a moral obligation to get these conversations on the air and really push it out and, create that awareness for people to facilitate action. To the point that we've even had people approach our guests, in the gym, because we've had a number of members on the show, that we've had members going to other members seeking mentorship and advice, and not when do I take this pivot, but how do I take this pivot?
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's relatability, dude. There's so much power in that.
It's fucking incredible, man.
So much power, because people will listen to the show. And they listen to God. This is the way when I listen to shows. It's humans, human nature, right? We want to connect. We want to be able to relate. It's relatability.
Yep.
Is relating to a piece or a section, or like that guy's speaking to me. Like I did that. I remember that. That's who I was then. And it's like immediately you have this unspoken connectivity and a kinship to where there's a relatability. There's a science behind that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I agree, man. I agree.
And that's crazy, because you even mentioned the Tommy Baker interview, and he's a good friend of ours. It's funny, he just texted us today too, which is wild.
We'll shoot him a video when we're done.
Oh,
yeah, man.
Totally.
People.
Hey, what up, Tommy?
Yeah,
how you doing, brother?
What's up, Tommy? I know you don't have the attention span to sit through an hour, so you're probably not on. But I got you.
And one of the guys in our circle, and Durs in my circle, goes to the gym. from that Tommy Baker interview we had, he joined the Resist Average Academy that Tommy runs because he built that connection through the podcast. And that's just, I mean, that's the power of this, is that people will resonate with specific messages. And man, just hearing yours, dude, I was like, no matter the cost, I'm like, how much do you cost, bro? I'm gonna start paying you, Kolby.
I'm not that dude. I'm not a life coach, man. You can call me anytime I talk, though. JT, hey, man, I'll take you. Durst knows this, man. If you want to pick up the phone, call me. I'll answer.
Oh, yeah, that's an incredible story.
Every time, man.
Dude, every time. Is there a morning routine that you have specifically that keeps you going every day through your journey? Because, I mean...
Yeah, so... there's two questions that I used to always ask on my show. That's one of them. That's one of those great. Just, is there some secret to what everybody does? And I'll give you the answer, and the answer that I'm going to give you is something you probably already know. You could probably tell me what my morning routine is without knowing. Just hearing me talk, you probably can tell me what I do. I interviewed probably 40 or 50 people, and I asked that same question I asked at the beginning, and so I used to start the show. And what I found were top performers all do the same thing. And I said, I want to do that. If these guys are doing this, and then what I found is it actually does work. So for my morning routine, for me to operate at my most optimal level, it has to go like this. I don't do this every day, but when I do this, I know I'm setting myself up for success. And the more I do it, the more I continue to do it. Is when I wake up, my day has to consist of a couple things: hydration, meditation, exercise. Those three things in whatever, like that kind of order, will set me up for success. Meaning, if I wake up at 5 in the morning, I get up, I do 32 ounces of ice water, Himalayan sea salt, a little bit of cayenne pepper, and a lemon. Stir that up. The ice gets your brain moving like a stimulant. I slam it. I don't sip it. I slam it. Right? It almost gives you a brain freeze. You lose so much. So you sweat a bunch when you sleep. You're very dehydrated when you wake up. So it hydrates me, but it also kicks my metabolism into overdrive. Then if I go into... For those of the people who don't say meditation, and people are like, "Oh, great, like a yogi." No, I mean, go download the Headspace app on the iStore, Google Play. Get Headspace. Do the 10 for 10. It's 10 days, 10 minutes. It's guided meditation by an English dude. The dude's voice is soothing. Yep. He teaches you how to meditate, how to quiet your mind, and how to go through a sequence to start thinking differently about not thinking at all.
Yeah.
Right. As profound of a thought as that is. So I do 10, 15 minutes of meditation. I do breathing. So go to WimHofMethod.com. I do Wim Hof breathing. I'll do about probably 3 minutes of Wim. So I'll do 3 sessions of 30-second breathing.
Yep.
And then that gets I oxygenate my blood. Then I go to the gym. Usually right before that, what I'll do is I do a little bit of education too. I'll grab a book and read for 10, 15 minutes. I'd grab any book off the shelf. It's not, that part of the routine is to stimulate thinking. It's not to
absorb.
Read absorb. It's for me to say, oh, grab this book and it's Tools of the Titans. Oh, the Arnold Schwarzenegger piece about this. Okay, cool. Then I drive to the gym. Okay, what is that? What am I thinking about? How does that quote do? Listen to a little bit of music. Put a podcast on usually and get my exercise in. Turn your phone off for the first hour. So when you wake up, my buddy Brandon Duncan just got me into this. I don't do it every day like I need to. Take your phone out of your bedroom at night. Don't sleep with the phone in the room, which is hard to do. Get an alarm clock. It's $4. Right? Get that distraction out of your room. And I sleep better. I don't do it every night. And I brought the phone back in the room recently. I got to get it out. But when the phone's out, I sleep better.
Yep.
If the first thing you do is look at emails.
Simon Sinek preaches that.
What happens? The first thing I do if I wake up, and if I do this before I say good morning to my wife or good morning to my kids, fuck you. That's so selfish of me to do that first. Right. But that means this is more important than my relationship with you, and that's bullshit. We just become accustomed to that. And I'm no saint. I do that.
Right.
I'm conscious about it and don't do it every day. I try to make it a habit not to do that. If you put this on airplane mode, if I get a text or I get an email or I get a social media, I get 200-300 emails. I don't do email as much as I do social media, right? So I get emails, I get social media updates or messages. I get 200-300 a day. Yeah. So if I start my day and let's say somebody says, dude, you're such a dick, and I don't like this, or they rub me wrong, and I get a text, it's a negative thing, how's my day going to be?
Yeah.
Now I'm stuck trying to fix through that in my morning routine, and my energy's all off. So if I don't do that first, and then I come back to it after I have done my first hour worth of stuff, then I look at it, which is a really hard, it's a hard discipline to do.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it. I'm trying.
Sure.
I'm trying. I'm working at it. But it's one of those things where now I control the mood that I'm in.
Yes.
Right? I'm not, allowing this device to control me.
Sure.
So that's my morning routine. And I binge work Meaning, I don't have hobbies. I like to build business as a hobby. And I like to help people as a hobby.
Yeah.
You see me, like I get an idea and I go.
My man is nonstop.
Yeah, so that's what I do for fun. It's like I try to build
All
things.
day, every day.
If I do, I'll do binge launches where I got an idea, build the product, I do design work, build the systems, and we go. I have this problem where I'll stay up to 2, 3, 4 in the morning, 4 days in a row, and then I can't do my morning routine. Like, I can't get up at 6. Like, it throws me off. I'm just trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
So I try not to do that as much. I do it every month, but I try not to do it every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that for me it's been kind of that's kind of the staple to it.
Nice.
But that allows me to be productive.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Yep.
So of the many lives that you've lived,
Lives.
lives,
Yeah.
Lives, of the many lives.
I was a male dancer. Yes. I was.
We all have that phase.
Yeah. It's college thing.
Hands down, top of the list, number one lesson you've learned.
Number one lesson I've learned just like my life on this planet so far. Number one lesson
That
I've
you would
learned.
give to everybody, regardless of what they're seeking.
Oh, just be good to yourself and be good to other people.
What does that mean to you?
And call your mother because she misses you. Like I say that every like video I do, and I don't know why. It just means it. Here's the thing: is when you, I wish I could tell you there was like this pivotal. If I really like could, my memory's bad. If I could really get back to something and say, here was a moment in my life about 10 to 15 years ago. I did a bunch of dirt as a kid. I didn't hurt people, but I did stupid things. I painted graffiti, like I stole our neighbor's car and drove it into a lake. Like I did stupid things.
Yeah.
Right? That didn't hurt people, but like were dumb to do. And I was 17 years old in Hawaii, and I thought, I got to turn that to where my karmic debt is out of balance. I need to do more for people. And you live, but then like somewhere like in my 20s, you don't want to be the guy when I'm sure you have this. Could be a sibling, could be one of your parents, could be a friend. When the phone rings, you're like, oh, what does he want? You know what I'm talking about? Like every time that person calls, you're like, shit, what does that guy or girl want?
Yeah.
Because they only call when they want something.
Sure.
I didn't want to be that, and I could feel myself getting that way. So like the relationships I had were like, if I were to talk to you, it's like, okay, what can I get?
Yeah.
What do you do? What are you connected to? Cool. How can I use that? How can I benefit from that?
Yeah.
Sure.
To where I took a different approach. It was like, I don't want to ever be the guy when I call, you're like, oh my God, what does that guy want?
Yes.
He wants something.
Yeah.
So how can I give back? So being good to other people and doing that is, if I leave a legacy, I got asked a question the other day in an interview about what's the legacy your kids are going to know you for. I hope it's for like service, and giving back. Like in the things that I do, I legitimately sometimes to my not my benefit, to where like I give up a lot of time where I could be doing other things with my family, like to help people, but being good to people and genuinely caring. Because we're all in this together. Because the media has an agenda, the government has an agenda, the financial system's rigged against you, the healthcare system's rigged against you. But that's just the way it is. I'm not a conspiracy theory. Look it up.
Sure.
So until you understand that we're in this together, and the more of us we can get along, and by doing the right thing is always the right thing to do.
Right.
Like that's first, and then being good to yourself, man. Listen, we make mistakes. Like, and what I did yesterday isn't going to constitute who I am tomorrow, right? Whether you're an alcoholic or you're an adulterer or you've done some dirt, we've all done shit. All of us have our issues. All of us do. But guess what? Tomorrow when I wake up, or today when I woke up, it's a new version of who I am. Who I was doesn't have to dictate who I will be,
Right.
and who I am today. Be good to yourself, forgive yourself, love yourself, and mean it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a practice, dude. It's taken me a long time to like get to a point where I live in the present and try to forgive myself for shit that I've done without it killing me.
Right.
And then if there's one thing I regret is I didn't call my mom more. I talk to her probably 2-3 times a week, but I wish like it's one of those things. Like I wish I could call her and I can't. So if your mom's alive, call her, because I guarantee you don't call her enough.
Yeah.
Those 3 things.
Okay.
That's
Instead of
incredible.
1, 3.
There it is.
I
For me,
loved
they
it.
all go
Hey,
together.
man. That's it, brother. That's it.
What books do you recommend? three books that you recommend currently that you're reading that can have a major impact on people's lives and have an impact on your life personally.
3 books I'm reading that people should read to make an impact. I would say the books I recommend. These are books I'm reading. These are books I recommend because it's different. The books I'm reading are a little bit different.
Okay.
The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
Changed my life in 3 different times in my life.
Oh, yeah. That's one that you can reread a lot.
I've gifted that book more than any book I've ever gifted.
Yeah.
I've given away probably 40 copies of that book.
Okay.
Next book I would say I would start with Why, like the Cynic book is a good book. Another good book that I really enjoy. God's Debris is really good. It's by the dude who does Dilbert.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
his second nonfiction book.
No
Okay.
kidding. Okay.
Yeah, I've recommended that a bunch. Yeah, probably those three. If I were to like say personal, business, yeah, I would say Alchemist. Alchemist. Simon Sinek, Start with Why, and God's Debris. Got this allergy thing, dude. Sorry, man. It's like
All good.
No, you're good,
Okay.
brother.
yeah, those are the books I probably
Awesome.
that I would
Awesome,
recommend.
man.
And The Power of Broke by my man Damon
I
John.
just
Yes.
finished it, bro. I literally, I just wrote a book review on Feed Me, Fuel Me
Yes,
about
he
it.
did.
Dude,
So, yeah, The Power of Broke. I mean,
that
it's-
shit will make you feel like you could do anything with
Yes.
pennies, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a really embarrassing and funny story about Damon John. You want to share it on this?
Yeah,
you want to do it on the
man.
live? I don't know if I want to.
Hey,
I don't want to share it on the podcast.
But we live.
But we can
So
share it on the live.
We can share
because he's not watching this.
we can steal the
This
audio.
could get to him. Like, we get to him. So Damon John's coming to town. And my buddy Dave.
Was this just recently? Because he was here last
He
summer.
was here for the books, his first book signing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I
Okay.
remember
Changing
he's in
Hand
town.
Bookstore.
Yeah.
And my buddy's like, dude, you want to go see Damon? And we had some mutual friends. Like, kind of this little circle. I'm like, yeah, let's go see Damon. He comes, does his thing, and he's like, listen, like, don't pitch Shark Tank. You know, come get a book, shake his hand, do whatever. A bunch of stuff kind of happens, and it's our turn to go spend some time with Damon. Damon's dyslexic
Right.
and like doesn't read well.
He talks about it all the time.
Yes.
Throughout
Yes.
that book.
So
Power Broke.
get to be friends with his buddy Chauncey, who's kind of like his dude, who kind of
Okay.
like I don't want to say it's his handler, but it's his guy.
Right.
It's his announcer, it's his hype man, it's his security guy, it's a big dude
Mm-hmm.
from New York. Around the store are these signs that say, "Please don't pitch Shark Tank to Mr. John." So it's our turn to get up and like get a picture and sign my book.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I walk by and grab the sign, take it off the bookshelf, and walk up, and it's our turn to get a picture. And I said, Damon, hold this so we can take a picture. And he looks at it, and he can't, like, I don't know if he can't, but he literally, like, looks at it and holds it up over his face, like he doesn't want to hold it in front of him for us to take a picture.
Yeah.
And I don't put any of this together. Like, I don't put any of this together.
Did you know he was dyslexic?
Yes, but I didn't put the process
Oh,
together.
okay.
Like, I wasn't
Got it.
clowning him.
Right,
I wasn't like,
okay.
here, hold these words that you can't read. Oh, by the way, it is backwards because you're looking at the front of it. Like,
Right.
you're looking at the back. Take a picture. He got offended that I handed him something with words on it. And I'm not processing this. I'm like
Right.
cracking jokes and we're laughing and having a good time. And Chauncey's like, dude, that is so funny because the sign says, don't pitch Damon John Shark Tank. And I have him holding a poster that says, don't pitch Damon. And I'm like holding it up like,
Yeah.
what? Like I'm pretending to pitch him something,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That was the whole, like, it's the photo. I'm a photo op guy, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's the photo op of
Right.
like, don't pitch Damon. He's holding it was the irony of it all.
Yeah.
We get done, and I don't think anything of it. I'm like, I look at the pictures, I'm like, what? And my buddy goes, you know he's dyslexic. And I'm like, oh, I guarantee he thought we were clowning him.
Right.
Like, got up and handed him a bunch of words and said, hold this in front of you and take a picture. He doesn't know what that says. Like,
Right.
was I making fun of him? And it happened so fast. I'm like, that was my...
Whoops.
I've worked with the other guys on Shark Tank,
Yeah.
but like that was my interaction with David John. I'm like, oh, dude, what a
No
dick.
way.
What a dick. Like, seriously, who does that? Who does that? Like, what a
Fuck,
dick. So
man.
we had some jokes, still some jokes. So, Damon, if you're listening, you know I love you and I love what you do. And I love the book. I recommend the book all the
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
Nobody wants to be broke. But I'm
No.
not clowning on you, man. I'm not clowning.
That's
so
crazy.
Fun. That's crazy, man.
I got 100 stories like that, dude. We could fill the whole podcast. Like,
That's
shit that
awesome,
I've done.
man. That's awesome.
Oh, we definitely need you back for
Oh,
repeat
100%, man.
episodes. This is
Yeah.
incredible.
Gotta have you at the summit. You gotta.
I'll be
you
there for sure.
You gotta come by the
Yeah.
gym for Wim Hof.
Yeah,
in a couple of
if I'm in
weeks,
town, I'll be
if
there
you're
for
in town. Yep. And when is the next meltdown in the desert, man? Are you gonna keep? Are you gonna?
Yeah,
are you
we'll
gonna-
do it annually for sure.
Okay.
So, Meltdown in the Desert, for those of you who don't know, was a entrepreneur social media event where we brought a bunch of people that were connected through social media influencers, life coaches, business coaches, entrepreneurs, just people that follow each other. We brought in some heavy hitters, and Durs and the Phoenix Gym were one of our core sponsors. And we did one day. They told me nobody would come. Nobody's going to attend. We had standing room only at the W. Had a really cool event, made some really good friendships. It was a really cool thing. But the problem with that is when I did the event, I was in event mode. I was doing 100 miles an hour after the event for 3 weeks and burned a bunch of relationships. I just didn't stop, just going and going and going. So I didn't have a chance to digest it all to say, like, because I wanted to do another one and I just didn't stop. So I just came through this kind of epiphany, like, you know what, like we should do another one because it was very impactful.
Totally.
But this will be more workshop. So we'll bring in I'm looking at, and if anybody of you guys know, you know Randall from Live Fit.
Yeah.
I want to bring Randall in.
Okay.
I'm going to bring Randall. My buddy Adam Torin, who wrote a book for kids on how to be an entrepreneur.
Nice.
So it's literally like, why do your mom and daddy go to work? How does the economic system work? And how do you take an idea and do something with it?
Sure.
Published author. He's very well known here in the community. I probably have Adam. Adam, if you're listening, you haven't been invited. I haven't told you the details. I want Adam to come. So myself, and then I've got 1 or 2 more guests. But I will do it very workshop-y, where, how to build a brand on social media. I mean, I hit 2 million impressions last year from my first year out on social media, and built a really large following of like 30, 40-something thousand people. So we'll teach about that.
Yeah.
And then how to do something with ideas. And then the networking part of it, the party and the stuff we did after it was like,
solid.
Taking people you only see online and putting them in real life.
Yeah.
Like there's something magical about that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'll be here. You know that, dude.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
I want to attend that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
man.
do it, man.
Do a podcast live at the show. Like broadcast some stuff live.
Oh, yeah.
Don't tease us with a good time,
You should.
man.
I'm saying.
Dude, because I want to get I saw Randall at Live Fit, his booth, man. I didn't get a chance to speak with him, but that's the guy we have to get on the show, too.
For sure, man. One of Michael Gagnon is one of his sponsored athletes. We can reach out. We'll connect. We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Got a couple people we can get
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
For sure, man. 6 degrees separation.
Oh,
bro.
yeah.
That's it. It's actually closer than that because Alicia Coates is here.
Yeah,
Like there's a bunch of people here that are like Phoenicians that are all kind of, you just got to ask the right
totally, man.
people.
We'll make it happen.
We'll get it.
Where can our family support your initiatives, man? Where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/IM, the letters IM, Kolby, Kolby, Kay.
Okay.
You can go there and see just about anything I'm doing. What else?
Instagram.
Instagram, the Healthy Primate. And go to healthyprimate.org. You can see what we're doing around kind of supplementation, health and wellness stuff. And
You tweet.
I do a little bit of tweeting, a little Twitter sphere.
That's
That's not the Healthy Primate. That's just Healthy Primate. You can find me on Twitter.
all right.
Find me on Pinterest. Like the places you should go to Facebook, go to Instagram. How much time do I have, dude? Can I tell you what I just did this week?
No, you're good.
Yeah, man.
You good?
Yeah.
All right, so this is where like another place you could find me. It's called simplemoneymethods.com. Just go to that website. So a buddy of mine, his name's John Quick.
Yeah.
John, I don't know if you tuned in. He's in Alaska. He's probably still sounding always John. This knack around taking business ideas and helping entrepreneurs is not something I just talk about. I do it.
Right.
And you know me. Like I go, you see it. One of the things about what I do on social media is I'm very transparent about everything in my life, and I do that on purpose. Right? It's some shit you'll never know, but some shit it's like I want to share the story.
Right.
So I get asked. My buddy John and I get asked probably, he's a 7-figure earner on Amazon, has probably 5 or 6 businesses that do well over $1 million a year.
Okay.
He's the go-to around how do you sell on Amazon.
Yeah.
He's a really, really smart guy.
Sure.
And the two of us are in this a couple of private Facebook groups together. But we get asked every day, probably 15 times a day, like, how can I make money fast? And it's like, you can't. You got to do work, dude. Like, there's no, like, what do you think, you're Ty Lopez? I'm not, like, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Like, you got to get off your ass. You got to get the work done. Well, John put this video out there, and he goes, well, here's something you could do. There's an app called Book Scouter. And what Book Scouter does is it aggregates all the open fair market prices for books that, like, what people will pay for them in the United States. So here's what you do. And he recorded a 15-minute video on how to do it. So great. Posted it up. Got a couple thousand views in like 2 days. And in 1 week, 100 people made $14,000.
Wow.
Okay, now let me say that again. 100 people made 14 grand in a week.
Yeah.
How do they do it, you ask? By taking their phone and scanning books and using this app to say how much are they worth and selling them. Okay? Sounds pretty easy. It's what it is, right? So we said, okay, there's actually a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah.
You can set up an Amazon shop. You can do eBay. There are 4 or 5 apps. There's like third-party scanners. Like if you really wanted to do this as a business, you could do $1 million a year on reselling books if you knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, let's put a course together. By the way, I've got 9 other things that are just like this. How do you start an apparel company? I get asked that every day. I have 2 calls on my way here by guys saying, how do you start an apparel? I don't know why people ask me about like how do you start an apparel. I tell them how to do it.
You got a monkey on a shirt.
I know, I got a hoodie. So we've got 9 different classes outside of this one on taking people through, like if you want to start like how to make some cash. Like it takes effort, but something for the average everyday human being, which is 70, 80% of the United States, is like probably 90%. 75% of Americans make less than $40,000 a year. That's why both parents work. Okay, borderline poverty if you took one parent, you sliced up the taxes, and you wanted to live. Like, it's tough. Most of us are living paycheck to paycheck and are 2 months away from being homeless, dude. Like, let's be honest about it. So we were thinking about it and said, okay, how much value can we bring and really put this together to where people can go, just anybody can go do this, like make money, like legitimately go make some money.
Right.
So we spent in 2 weeks from that idea. We took 2 weeks. We recorded 87 minutes of content. I sliced it up into a curriculum and did 9 how-to videos. 9 how-to. Here's the app. Here's how you register. Here's what it looks like. Here's when you load it. Here's what the buttons mean. Here's how you use it. Scan these books. Here's the kind of books. Where do I get books? How do I package them? How do I make money on Amazon shipping? All that shit. And just launched it out. And I had 65 people today said in the first 30 minutes of finishing your first 2 modules, like made $200. Guy, this doesn't happen. And we got some clarification afterwards, but dude bought Playboys. A guy was selling a stack of Playboys on Craigslist, like from the 60s.
Yeah.
Guy bought them for $40. Was flipping through and found a Marilyn Monroe sealed Playboy.
Get the fuck
Let me
out.
tell you the significance of this. Let me tell you the significance. That is the first edition of Playboy. Is the Marilyn Monroe edition. Like, that's the first magazine ever on a cultural icon and a cultural magazine that shifted the way young men touch their penises. Right. So like, he finds this man. And he's looking on eBay and he's like, it's in mint condition. It is sealed, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's sealed.
Right.
And on Amazon, I think it was going for $5,000 to $10,000. Well, he bought it for $40. Well, you come to find out it was a Bluebird, and it was actually a reprint. And the reprint's only going for a couple $100.
Sure.
So instead of making $4,000, he made $300. But still
more than 40.
it's like all day. Like, people were just like, what do you mean? So like one of my Q1 projects, we've got Healthy Primate. I've got my business coaching with high-level clients, like some like business stuff I'm working on, and I'm just enthralled with this simple money methods thing of like just helping just everyday people like go make $100 a day.
There you go.
So something about that, like, you could see me on an infomercial like soon, like telling people like, it's this easy. Like, it's like, not really. It is this. Like, I'm telling you, like, it's this. I'm not. I crack on Ty Lopez all the time. Ty, if you're listening, dude, like, I know you're getting yoked up, man. He's trying to be the Dan Bilzerian of the entrepreneur world, but like, I'm gonna get him physically sometime. We'll do some kind of charity thing. But
there you go.
It's one of those things where like, it really, there are legitimate quick ways to go make $100 a day if you like get off your ass and go do it.
Yeah.
And something about this really is sexy to me because I could help way more people.
That's awesome, man.
Right? So there's something weird about it.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that.
There you go.
So you can find me there.
Dude, thank you so much for your time, bro.
Of course, dude.
You know, you got a little pirate to take care of.
Gotta go. Yeah, I gotta go together pirate.
But, for everybody listening, make sure you go check out the Healthy Primate.
Last 2 questions as always.
But you already asked it.
Yeah, but we have to clarify.
Man, okay.
We have to
All
clarify.
Right. For continuity and consistency and all the things that you were talking about.
Yes.
2 questions, answer them on any level.
Yep.
What's one thing that you do every single day to feed yourself and get the fire lit? And what's something you do every single day to fuel yourself and keep that motivation to carry over into the next day?
You might have to rephrase the second one. So the first one, or ask me the second one again.
What gets you started?
Here's the first one. The first one for me, like what gets me started, is some kind of daily routine.
Yep.
And that daily routine has to start with gratitude. I started doing that like religiously now.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like some big global philosophical bullshit gratitude. I mean, I had a really good night's sleep, and I only woke up twice to pee.
Yeah.
I like my son didn't sleep in my bed; he slept in his bed all night.
Yeah.
I start the day with 3 or 4 pieces of immediate gratitude because it's hard to be in a place of unhappiness and ignorance and like being angst if I'm in gratitude.
Sure.
If you're living, that's an old Tony Robbins thing. Like, stay in a state of gratitude. It's hard for me to be negative, so do that first.
Yep. And then what's something that you do every single day to keep that motivation going?
Masturbate.
Boom.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
And we're done.
What is the one thing I do to stay motivated? This goes to the gratitude. So for me, when I've been in my absolute darkest times, like when I lost both my parents, like just crap shit happens. For me, I go back to inherently every day. somebody will there'll be some unsolicited thank you for something I've done. And knowing that I'm helping somebody, whether subconsciously or consciously, keeps me going.
That's love.
That's
man.
Yeah, so one for me is start with gratitude. The thing that keeps me going is knowing I'm making an impact.
There you go.
Incredible.
Awesome.
And if I don't get it, I ask for it. Like,
Yeah.
have I given you value enough for what
Yes.
you've done? And they'll
Absolutely.
That's
solidify
absolute
it.
yes today.
So it's one of those, right?
Awesome,
That
man.
keeps me going. So
Dude.
this interview will keep me going for the next half of the day.
There it is, brother.
Good to see you guys, man. I appreciate having me
Thanks
on,
for
dude.
coming on, brother.
Love you, dude.
Hey, for everybody listening, make sure you check out the Healthy Primate and support everything that Kolby's got going on. And, check out those websites that he mentioned so you can help him make some money.
That's it, man.
And, we really appreciate you allowing us to join you on your journey. And we're ever thankful to have you on ours. And until next time, guys, feed me, feel me.
That's what I do.
See ya.
And that'll do it for today's episode with our special guest, Kolby K. If you want to check out everything Kolby has going with himself and Healthy Primate, please go check out the full show notes at feedmefuelme.com. Also, be sure to connect with us on social media, including Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter at feedmefuelme. We would love to hear from each and every one of you. We're excited to announce the Feed Me Fuel Me Summit on July 10th, 2017 in Sedona, Arizona. Our keynote speaker will be Forrest Lustos. If you haven't had a chance to hear Forrest's story yet, be sure to check out his episode number 19, Mastering the Superficial and Becoming Exceptional. It's guaranteed to fire you up and make you take action. We've released event details on the website and will continue to update them in the coming weeks. Be sure to go to the website feedmefuelme.com, click on the link 2017 Summit, purchase your ticket, and we'll see you there. If you found this episode inspiring in any way, please rate, comment, share, and subscribe so we can continue on this journey together. Also, be sure to share it with your friends and family on social media, including Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter, or any other social platforms that you use. We really appreciate you spending your time with us today and allowing us to join you on your journey. We would love to hear your feedback on this episode, as well as guests and topics for future episodes. To end this episode, we would love to leave you with a quote by Frank Lloyd Wright. You have to go wholeheartedly into anything in order to achieve anything worth having. Thank you again for joining us, and we will catch you on the next episode.